All right, let's do this. All right, and people on my end, my webinar wingman, now's the time to start the recording. So thank you so much. All right, guys. So welcome everyone. Steve Salvia here. Looking forward to today's coaching club session with you. Super excited about the session. A couple of people just joined us on the line just a couple of seconds ago, so welcome to you. I think this session is going to be really valuable for you if you want to get more prospects to tell you that they need you, that they want you, and they're absolutely desperate for your solutions. So it's like, you know, they push you. So they push you so that you don't have to pull them or push them. Okay, how cool would that be? You know, so we sort of take all the weirdness out of your conversion conversations, and we sort of, you know, we get everything. We get them to tell you what they need instead of having to do it the other way around. So really, really awesome, and can't wait to share that with you in just a second. Just really, really quickly, I've got my printer buzzing away, and I've got to remove that. So just hold 1 second, guys. Sorry. I had a little bit of a log jam there, so sorry about that, guys. I had to remove that from the printer. So, guys, what I want to do today is just talk quickly about the Sherp. So you'll notice the image on this Sherp is blurred out. That means there's no fortnightly Sherp session next week. So just so everyone knows, we'll be over in Sydney. We'll be working away at the intensive and also at your awesome summit. So no Sherp session, just so everyone knows. So please make a note of that. That would be awesome. Having said that, we've got the list building summit coming up. So, you know, I get asked all the time, guys, you know, Steve, how do I build my list? I need some new clients to talk to. And the reality is it's a great question. Because pretty soon, if you're not doing it right, you run out of people to talk to. The communication starts to fall on deaf ears, and you know, they get tired of the same messages over and over again. So maintaining a really good solid list is king, and that's what we're going to be focusing on at the list building summit. So, you know, grow your prospect list, get the right people interested, get them interested faster, and have a system that you can follow so you can do it again and again and again. That's what we're doing. We've touched on it over time, and there's lots of little things we do, but we're actually going to have a process and a system. You're going to walk away with some amazing takeouts from that. So Tuesday, 29th of March, be there in Sydney, or, you know, kind of be square if you know what I mean. So yeah, and the next day, I know there's quite a few of you guys actually coming to the Profitable Planner Intensive in Sydney as well, which is on the, yeah, that's the Wednesday following day. Awesome session. We had a great session last week in Perth, and guys, there's still some room available. I'd love you to come along, but more importantly, I'd also love you to help me by bringing some guests along, some potential partners. I'd love you to bring some referral partners to me. Number one, they're going to have an awesome day, but number two, I'd love to have some more prospects in the room as well. We've got a heap coming, don't get me wrong, got good numbers, but if I can get some more really awesome people in there, that would just really float my boat. So, guys, if you can do that, if you think there's someone you know that may get some value out of hanging out with me and a really good group of planners for a day, let us know, and we'll get you some of these VIP tickets that you can give as a gift to them. Okay, so we can give them something really, really valuable. They'll come back and they'll love you for it because they're going to have an awesome day, and I get to speak to some really great, sort of warm leads as well. So that's where we're heading. Design service, I'll slip past that. We all know about that. All right, guys, let's get into it. All right, let's talk about conversion, and specifically, how can we get your prospect to sort of diagnose his or own or her own problems, you know, without you even having to take their pulse, take their blood pressure, or stick it like a thermometer anywhere near them. That's where we're going today. So what happens is too often people are in a state of denial, aren't they? You know it, I know it. You know, they're about the situation. They're just in denial. They know it intellectually, but they just go, you know, they move on blind faith. That everything's going to be okay. Nothing will happen to me. I'm bulletproof. I don't need to worry about financial planning because everything's going to be fine for me. And guys, the reality is it just doesn't work that way. Yeah, and it's a little bit like I've been talking about. We need to cut through all the noise for those people, and we need to get through to what's called their unknown, unspoken problems. You know, we've talked about it before, and you might want to jot them down if you haven't done this part of it yet. But we need to get to their unknown, unspoken problems. They know their known spoken problems. They know those. They're things that they know and that they're happy to talk about. There's also then their unknown, unspoken problems. So that's the stuff that they don't know, so therefore they don't talk about it. But the thing that we need to cut through and get right into is what's called their known unspoken problems, the stuff they know about that they just don't want to talk about. They're too embarrassed, they're feeling coy about it, they don't want to admit it, yeah, that's where we have to cut through. So what I'd love to do, I'm just going to quickly see if I can get my iPad on the screen. So just 2 seconds, guys. I'm just going for my iPad here, which is so now it's going to play silly buggers with me because, of course, I didn't get a chance to test it and it's not coming up. Okay, so iPad not working, which is fantastic. So that means I have to turn this off. So guys, what we will, I'll slide past that. I'm just going to power off this iPad and I need to now power it on. It's amazing, the one time you never test, the thing doesn't happen. It's amazing. And it's also probably, here's a good lesson too, when you're running around a million mile an hour a day before a flight to Sydney, it's very interesting timing. Okay guys, so let's just slide past it. So that's what we've got to get to. We've got to get to the known unspoken problems. That's where we're heading. All right. But here's the thing. Here's the problem. If you don't get this right, if you don't get good at this, few things happen. If you don't get through to the known unspoken problem, you know, think about this in your conversion meetings. Here's what happens, and I'm sure you've come across this on a regular basis. Number one, here's what happens. You know they need it. So you're the professional. You've seen it all before. You know, you've seen 100 people, even if you had 500 people just like them, exactly the same situation. You know, your instinct tells you exactly what they need and what you need to do to fix it. It just comes to you. You know, we talk regularly about it. You know, yes, we need bespoke advice for people, but the reality is, generally, strategies are fairly similar. Numbers are a little bit different, and, you know, situations are a little bit different. You know, that's generally how it is. But for the most part, advice is fairly similar. So we need to do bespoke cookie cutter advice for our clients, is what I believe. Make it really, really simple to get through our system, but it needs to be specific to that client. But you know in your heart of hearts, you can talk to someone for 5 minutes or so, and you know where they're at, you know what their situation is going to be, you know where it's going to end up, and yeah, we just know it instinctively. You've asked all the right questions, you've peeled back the layers, and yeah, you know they need your help. But here's the thing, you know, they don't want to admit it. They just don't want to admit it. Have you ever noticed that before? People come into your office, they don't want to admit their problems. They know it, but they'll do anything to not have to admit it. Have you ever found that before? You know, they dodge the situation, they change the subject, they embellish stuff. You know, they try and make themselves look better than they really are. You know, you hear me say it in the intensives and in the summit, it's about dropping the mask. And I just don't think people want to drop the mask. It's a matter of pride. And, you know, they've got the shackles up and, you know, they just won't admit it. But secretly, you know you're right yourself. And but the thing is, internally for them, you haven't earned the right yet for them to be really, really open and honest with you. And it's like they've got a box over their head and they just don't want to talk to you. So what happens is, you know, they need it. They don't want to admit it, and what happens is it becomes a standoff. You've had it before. We've all had it before. You know, and it happens regularly. You know, it's the first man to blink. You know, pistols at 10 paces. It's like man versus beast. You know, you need to prove yourself, and you need to prove your diagnosis before they'll actually open up with you. Okay? So before they actually even make a commitment, you need them to make a commitment, but they just won't do it. You know, so that's when you say, here's where you come in. This is what you say. Think about it. Be honest here. Well, all right, here's what I'll do. I'll go away and do some quotes. I'll do some projections. I'll do some cash flow analysis. I'll check all your super funds. I'll do some insurance comparisons, and I'll go online and check this thing out, and I'll go to do a Centrelink calc, and I'll maybe do a few TTR calcs for you, and I'll put it all in a report or a draft strategy, and if it's right, you'll be happy, and then hopefully, maybe, you'll hope and pray that they'll work with you. Ever had that before, guys? Let's be honest. I just love you to do me a favour. Raise your hand in the raise your hand button. I'm going to clear it now. Yeah. Have you ever had that before? Have you ever had a client need you to do all those things before you actually went ahead and done it. Just raise your hand for me. Who's done that for me? Hands going up everywhere. Few hands not going up. Really weird. I find that quite odd. I'm sure that we've all said, hey, how about I do this for you? And everything will be sweet. Yeah, that's it. More hands going up now. Okay, cool. And what happens? The dust settles. You look around. You look at the, look at the pile of paperwork that's been strewn all over your desk. You put your head in your hands and you say to yourself, or you even say it out loud, and I've said it before too, guys, and I actually always said it out loud, holy crap, what did I just sign myself up for? How did I get myself into that mess? You look at all this work and, you look at everything that's left on the table, and the client hasn't even said yes yet. They haven't even committed to you. And it's just not a good look. And what happens when you get to that situation, what happens is that no one wins. You either don't get the client or you have to go on some sort of wild goose chase. And the amount of times I remember in the early days saying to myself, God, this client's just sent me on a wild goose chase. I'm going to clear the raise your hand again. Who's ever had that before? Just raise your hand if you've ever felt to yourself, he's just sent me on a wild goose chase. Yeah, happens all the time. So you don't get the client, or you go off on a blooming tangent. You've got to to do all this work just to try and get them warm or impress them. They don't get the advice or the result they need, so nothing changes for them. And what happens is it goes backwards, or in fact, it just spirals backwards. And third thing is their family suffers. They don't help the community. They often become actually a burden on the community as well, as it just doesn't work. So guys, I'd love to know from you, out of, they need it, but they don't admit it, or it becoming a standoff, I'd love to know from you, which one has got the biggest impact on you and why? So do me a favour, find the question box for me, and I'd love you to answer that question for me. Which one of those has got the biggest impact for you and why? I'm just going to grab a quick drink of water. I've just got my iPad up and running now, so I'm going to compose myself again, which is cool. And I'll give you 20 seconds. Ready, set, go. All right, got some answers here. Let's have a look. This is what we used to do all the time. Absolutely, yeah. We all do it. Everyone's done it. We're doing it all the time. No longer. Great, Aaron. Thank you. I used to, but not now. Susan, thank you. Get a commitment to proceed. Otherwise, you're just working for free with no outcome from either party. Exactly right. What else, guys? Come on. There's a few more people on the call. I want a few more. Becomes a standoff, Mark. Thank you. Becomes a standoff. It's worse as you're thinking of working for nothing. Haven't done this for a while. That's great. Okay, so it seems like there's a bit of a shift in this mentality as well. So it sounds like people are doing the right thing and actually getting paid or getting some sort of commitment up front. So that's really, really cool. Here's the thing on the flip side. So, if that's what happens if you don't do it right. That's the downside. Imagine if you could turn it around every single time without fail, and you could turn the negatives into positives. You can get really, really good at this. If you get good at this, here's what happens. Instead of you knowing what they need, they actually tell you. They do the work. They have the BFOs. It becomes their idea. Them working with you actually becomes their idea. How cool would that be? Every single time without fail. You don't have to do any pushing because they're pulling you, or they're pushing towards you. They're moving in, leaning in forward to you. They uncover their own needs, their own wants, their own shortcomings, and they get excited about finally being able to fix it. It's just like in a photo booth. You go into a photo booth, and what happens is you get to choose the photos you like, and you can ditch the rest. And that's what we want your clients to be doing. We want them to choose you, choose what they want. They do the choosing, and you just oblige them by doing the work. Number two, instead of having no admission sign up, so often it's yeah, I need you, but I'm not coming in. They open up, they admit it, and they actually pay up front. They finally commit. They don't want to wait any longer. It's what I call they chase the train. They chase the train down the track. They bought a ticket, they've paid for their bags, and so they run as fast as they can because they know the train's leaving the station and they want to be on board. So that's a massive turnaround. They come to you instead of you having to push out to them all the time. And if you get this right, instead of a standoff, you actually collaborate with your clients. And that's a really important word, guys. I'd love you to write that down. We want to get to a point where we're actually in collaboration. You're not doing the work. They haven't hired you to be the labourer. You're actually working in collaboration. You work together. They're engaged. They've got buy-in, both figuratively and emotionally. We want both figuratively, physically, and emotional buy-in to your work. Why? They get that emotional buy-in because it was their idea in the first place. We're going to turn it around and make everything that you need to do for them and everything they need from you, we're going to turn it around and make it their idea. So once you do that, if you can get them to buy in, you're happy to proceed, you're confident because you know you're working together, you're working in unison. Everyone's on the same page, they've paid and they're paying attention. So just jot that down, guys, again. When people pay, they actually pay attention. When they don't pay, you often find, and I'm sure you found it yourself, people who haven't paid or don't pay, it's rare that they pay too much attention to you. Okay? And what you end up with, you end up with the ultimate client engagement process, which is what I call a three-way win. And you guys have been around a while, you heard me talking about it a lot. Three-way win. Everything's got to be a three-way win. You win because you get to be awesome, do what you do best, do what you were put on this earth to serve, and you get paid for it like a pro. They win because they make positive changes to their life and they get the financial advice that they need, and that's them winning. And then what happens is, of course, their family, their community, everyone wins because they're doing better and they're pushing that betterness out to the rest of the world, and therefore those people can do better, and therefore they can push that out, and everyone just does better. Really, really important. Okay, so it's a three-way win. Everything you do has to be a three-way win. All right? So it's really critical that we get this right. All right, guys, let's just switch gears. I'd love to, so that's why I think this topic is important, and they're my reasons for wanting to do this and turn this around and make them come towards us instead of us pushing out to them. But I'd love to know from you, what would improve if you could get your prospects to self-select and decide that, they needed you instead of you having to pull them over the line and they pushed you over the line? What would change for you? So I'd love to know from you. So find the question box for me, do me a favour. If you didn't have to push and they actually pulled, what difference would it make to your client conversions, okay? If you could do that and get it right, well, how would it make a difference to your business? What difference would self-selection make for you? So I'll give you 20 seconds or so. Yeah, type that into the question box for me now. Ready? Go. Haha. Matt, you're right. How bloody good would that be? How bloody good would that be? How about that? We should write that down as a BFO. How bloody good would that be? If we could get them to come to you instead of you having to, Paul. Yeah, great, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Posture and control. Absolutely. It's all about posture, guys. It's all about our posture. We don't want to do the old-fashioned 1980s douchebag sales pitch anymore. We want to do it smoothly, professionally, differently, very differently. And you'll find that the Blackwing way is very different to any other way out there, because we do it from the heart, we do it from love, and we get the clients engaged right up front. We get them to make the decisions and not us. So great. That's awesome, Paul. Makes a massive difference. They would convince themselves by me asking the right questions. Totally, Paul. That would be, they'd be extremely committed, and that's what we want, committed people. And people who pay, they're committed. Make you an authority, Matt. Thank you. Geez, the whole process would just flow. Terry, absolutely. How good would it be if we didn't have to do the pushing? Start to get the best clients in the door who refer similar people. Exactly right. That takes it to a whole other level, Lee. That's like those people are pre-prepared, pre-positioned, and predisposed if they've been referred by people who've been through that system, and it's been awesome, an awesome outcome for them. So yeah, Mark, obviously more money, dude. Well done. Thank you for someone saying more money, because we've got to fit our own mask first. But it also, work would be more enjoyable. Totally. Susan says time, focus, credibility, all those three important, all three important words as well. Time, focus, and credibility. Yeah, we're not doing the pushing, they are. All right, let's spin this around a little bit. Let's change tack, change direction. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to give you the 4 key principles to getting this absolutely right. And I'm going to show you how to do it a little bit in a minute. I've got my iPad up. Thank goodness that works because a lot of my session today was on the iPad. So got that working now. So we're going to talk about how to do that later. So I'd love you to grab a clean sheet of paper. Make sure you've got plenty of paper for this, guys, as well. And I'm going to slide into the 4 hot principles to being awesome. And we're going to, and I'm going to teach you how, a few different variations of what I call the Cosmo Quiz. Okay, so here we go. Number 1, the first thing you need to do to get really, really good at this is that you need to unlock the obvious. Okay, I want you to unlock the obvious. So what we do might seem bleedingly obvious to you, but if you don't come from our world, it might not be that way. It's as simple as that. We get it, we understand it, we know it intellectually, but they don't. People only know what they know. So, you know, you're an expert at this stuff. You've studied at uni. You know, your life effectively revolves around the things that we talk about every single day. So it's totally obvious to us. You know, you see what they need in a second. You can talk to a person and say, within 5 minutes, you can say, right, okay, in your mind, you're never going to say this out loud, by the way, but within a couple of minutes, you're going to say, right, you need to do this, you need to do this. You can say, they need to fix this first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Okay? So the second you see someone, you know. But to them, to the people, the humans out there, they're different to us. So they're different. So to them, it's not even on their radar. You know, I said it before. It's like they're oblivious. So it's your job to make them aware, to get it front of mind for them, and get them to buy into the process and how important it is, and what it would mean for them if they had that thing done or had that thing sorted or got those things fixed once and for all. We've got to get them buying. We've got to unlock the obvious. Okay, bring it front of mind. Have them tell us about the pain. Get them to realise that they can't continue to do nothing about it. We've got to also get them to tell you what the cost of continuing to do nothing about it will be as well. So please write that down. Very, very important. It's about what it's costing them not to do anything, what it's costing them to ignore it, what it's costing them not to get this thing done. What is the cost to them? Because people don't realise it. So we've got to put some currency on it. And the cost might not be dollars. It might be stress. It might be pain. It might be potential for for bad things to happen down the track. Who knows? Whatever it happens to be, but we need to put some currency around that cost. Okay. Ignoring it is just not going to work for them anymore. It's not viable. It's not realistic. We need them to tell us that. All right, so number 1, I need you to make it obvious to them. Number 2, we've unlocked the obvious, but now we need to get them to move forward. We need to get them to do something about it. We need to sort of get them to lean in towards their future, and that's the future that you're going to show them. So what we need to do, we need to build them a bridge. We need to make a bridge for them, create one for them. Okay. It's obvious to them now because you've just showed them. It's obvious to them now they need it. We've got them to recognise the pain or what they're missing out on or what it's costing them. If they don't get this right, now they know what the consequence is. But now what we need to do is build a bridge, a way for them to get from one side of the river to the other, okay, or one side of the cavern or one side of the gap, whatever you happen to do. So they need some easy steps, step by step, something really, really simple to follow to get them from where I'm uncomfortable on one side over there, over to the other side, where things are calm, where things are safe, where they feel in control. Okay, and and so I believe what we need to do is we need to build them a bridge. So I am going to grab my iPad now, which hopefully is going to work. So just grab maybe a clean sheet of paper, guys, if you can. I'm going to slide the iPad up on the screen. So, guys, can I just get a raised hand if you can see my iPad? I just need to make sure that we are on track and everything's working okay. Just raise your hand and let me know you can see my iPad. Thank you so much. Love it when all the IT goes well. Yeah, the thing is, guys, my webinar wingman is not here, sitting here with me, helping me, and funnily enough, doesn't pan out the way I wanted it to. Anyway, we're good now. All sweet. So, what we want to do is basically, first thing is that we need to figure out basically what is the problem. So I want you to draw along with me here, guys. So we need to figure out what the problem and help the client figure out what the problems are. And basically the problems are their frustrations and their fears. We need to get them to understand their own frustrations and fears in absolute detail. Okay. And secondly, so then we've got to so once we've got that, then we've got to get them to know what the promise is. Okay, and we've got to have smiley face on the other side. So we've got sad face on left-hand side, which is the problem, and we've got happy face on right-hand side, which is the promise. And the promise is basically the wants and aspirations, what you deliver, you know, your value proposition, your corporate profile details, your client care package options. That's the promise. So we've got to move them away from problem. We've got to move them over to promise. So we've got problems, we've got promises, but the third thing in the middle is what I call we need a process. So we need a process. Okay, so we've got problem over here. We've got promise over here. But the thing that they need, the bridge that they need to get them from problem to promise is what we call the process. Okay, we need some sort of straight line system for them to get from one end to the other. Okay. Now, guys, I don't know, how can we do this? What about, let's use another example. I want you to grab the question, find the question box. Let's use another example from another industry. What if we were in the dating game? All right, let's play a bit of a game here. What if we were in the dating game and we were talking to someone about, so let's say we were talking to a, I don't know, short, fat nerd. Okay, so just jot that down, guys. So let me just paint a picture for you. We're dating coaches right now. So let's take our financial planner's hat off and we've become dating coaches. And we're talking to a short, fat nerd who's paying us a lot of money because he wants more dates. He can't get dates. He struggles with it. He's lonely. He's getting older. He can't find the right prospect. You might want to jot these things down just as a bit of a frame-up. You know, he can't find the right partner. You know, it's his natural urges are kicking in. You know, he's horny. He's frustrated. He lives with his mum. He's embarrassed. You know, so what am I painting a picture of here? So guys, just type in for me now. What am I painting a picture of here? You know, he feels awkward talking to females. You know, he doesn't know what to say. That sort of thing. What am I talking about here? What am I painting a picture of? I'm talking about his starts with a P. Okay, he's going to be single for a long time unless he had as a quid, says Terry. Absolutely. So what we're going to do, we're going to show him what he needs to do, because you're right. Those things, they're short, fat, ugly, you know, wants more dates, getting older, lives with his mum, bad breath, dandruff, all those sort of things. Awkward, can't talk to women, that sort of thing. What are we talking about? We're talking about his problems, aren't we? So we're helping the client identify the problems. Okay, and hopefully I haven't painted a picture of anyone on our call, and I'm sure I haven't done that. So what do we want to do? We want to get him from the other side, don't we? We want to get him to the other side. What's the other side? So what I'd love you to do, so if that was his problems, what would be his promise? So if short, fat, dorky nerd lives with mum, has bad breath, can't talk to women, gets embarrassed, feels awkward with them, doesn't know what to say, I want you to type in for me, what are some things that might be the promise? So effectively, think about it. How do we use I just went through the frustrations. How do we use the fears? Okay, so how do we use the wants? So we've just went through the frustrations. Now let's put in there some of the wants. So if that's the picture I painted of him now, what's the opposite to that? What does he need? What's the opposite? What does he want? If that's where he is right now, where does he want to be? What's on the other side of the bridge? What's on the other side of the gap? Not how to do it. Not talking about how to do it now. What does he want? What's the end result he wants? Let's think about it. Type it in for me. Come on, guys. If you were a love guru, huh? Yeah, he wants girls chasing him, right, Paul? Exactly. What else? He wants a relationship. Totally. Sounds like at the start he probably wants maybe a tad more than a relationship, which something might slide into a relationship, Terry. But yeah, you're on the right track. What else, guys? Come on, play the game with me. Who else is on the line? Who hasn't? What's the end result? Where's he going? He makes an app, sells it on Facebook to 100 million, and then all his problems are solved and girls love him. That could be an outcome for him. That's exactly right. You're on the right track, Adam. Thank you so much for that very out-of-the-box description. He wants confident, exactly right, Mark. Attractive, successful, ideal women like all guys. Exactly right, totally. He wants to be a gigolo. Yeah, exactly right. That's the other side of it. So he wants to be a star. He wants to be able to walk into a nightclub and the music stops and he stands in the middle of the dance floor and does the John Travolta disco thing. He wants a harem of women around him. So you see what we're doing here? We're taking the client, so now this is just an example, but just to give you an idea where we're heading here. We've got a client who's short, fat and ugly and wants more women and he's frustrated, he's horny, and lives with his mum and he's got bad breath. And all the way through, what on the other side, that's the promise. That's where we want to take this guy. That's the bridge that we want to build for him. He wants to be a star at nightclubs, at getting attractive women, have girls chasing him, and that sort of thing. He wants to be like a gym loaf. He wants to, and that'll make him feel better about himself. Absolutely, Paul. Exactly right. Okay, so that's one end to the other. So if I had to say to you, right, so if we needed to build a bridge, what I want to do is I want to build some steps. So we need to build now. So we've got the problem. We've articulated the client's problem, and we've helped him know where it is. So we've taken him there. We've also now showed him what the promise is, but what the promise is. But there's something missing. There's a process. So we need to be able to show that person what the process is to get from where he is now to where he wants to be and get there as quick as possible and in a straight line and as easy as we can. So guys, if you were the dating coach, the love guru, the number one, what do they call it, million dollar matchmaker, I want you to step through in some sort of logical order for me in the chat box, pardon me, in the question box there, pardon me, what are some of the steps that he'd need to take in a logical sort of order, just like you do with financial planning? Okay, just like you do with financial planning, what are some of the steps that he'd need to take to get him from where he is to where he want to be? I'll just give you 10 seconds. Have a think about that. What are some of the things that he'd need to do to get himself a harem of women in as short a space of time, as easy as possible? Just type it in. Yeah, right, exactly. Number one, I reckon totally he'd need to get his mindset right, wouldn't he? So if it was me, so here's the process. So get mindset right. So that's the first part of this. What's probably the first step? What else? What else would he need to do? He'd have to make a plan. Exactly right. So once he's got his mindset right, he'd have to make a plan. Make a plan. And you can jot this down, guys, because I want you to sort of understand the process. What else? Take action. Have a makeover. Exactly right. I reckon the next thing you probably need to do is figure out who. Figure out what his ideal girl is. Figure out the who. Who would be ideally suited for him? So who would he love that person to be? If it wasn't a harem, who would that one person want to be? I'm using the examples to the extreme here, obviously, but you get what I mean. Yeah. What else would he? He'd have to have a makeover, wouldn't he? He'd have to look good. He'd need to get a haircut and a shave, look good, and put some aftershave on, because we don't want him to look smelly and sweaty, do we? Aftershave. So you see, we're building a bridge. We're taking this client from where they are in pain, in problem, over towards the promise that you're going to make. What else would we need to do? He'd need to know where to look for these people, wouldn't he? He'd know where to look for them. So you can implement. Then we've got to implement. You're right, Lee. But then we'd know where to look. Know where to look. Next step. What then? Okay, you've got to know. Okay, when you see them, you've got to know what to say. Know what to say to them. Okay, you can get your mindset right. You could make a plan. You can look really good and smell nice, not sweaty and stinky. You know where to look. But when you meet a girl, what's the next step? Well, you've got to know what to say. You've got to know how to approach them, right? That sort of thing. Yeah. So how to take the conversation further, how to get them the phone number, how to follow up on that phone number, what to say, how to get physical escalation, that sort of thing. So you get the drift here, guys. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to get a process from problem to where they are to promise to where you're going to take them and where they want to be, and we've got to have a logical step-by-step process. And guys, you guys have been around for a while, because there is a few newbies on the call. Think about the Blackwing process. Think about the corporate profile process. Think about all the process maps. There is a step-by-step logical process for each and everything. We've stepped back from our business. We've spun ourselves around. We've got ourselves on the whiteboard, and we said, okay, what's the first step? What's the second step? What's the third step? What's the fourth step? Is this landing with you guys? I'm just going to clear the raise your hand button. Can you see the analogy and what the similarities could be for financial planning? Just raise your hand and let me know that this is landing for you. I'd hate to be talking about hot harem of women and ugly, smelly guy and be the only one who's understanding it. So if you could just let me know that may tell you something a little bit about me and my world. Big lessons from this, guys. Here's the thing that I want you to take out of that little bit. I want you to, this is the big idea, so just jot this down, guys. So I want you to stop selling conversations. I want you to stop selling fees, returns, numbers, strategy, that sort of thing. and I want you to start selling promises to problems with specific processes that people can walk away with, that they can physically grab hold of and pick up and run with. They can see the steps, they can see the bridge that you built for them, and they can feel really, really good about it, okay? Simple system where they can go from where they are now, and you can take them step by step on that journey, okay? That's sort of the analogy that I'm getting at there now, and I hope that sort of resonated with you, because it's kind of how I came up with the process. All right, so number 3, we've got to build a bridge. Sorry, number 2, we've got to build a bridge, but number 3, probably even more important than that. Once we've done that, so we need them to, what we need to do, we need them to rate the response. So we need them to get them thinking in their own sort of mind's eye, in their own gut, you know, that where they are right now, it's not a comfortable place for them to be. We need them to, we need to help them uncover their own problems. Okay, we need to get them at that starting point. I don't think enough financial planners are doing that well enough. We're launching straight into solution mode. Hands up who could be guilty of launching into solution mode too early, or who has been guilty in the past of launching into solution mode too early. Anyone ever done that before? Yeah, exactly. So what happens is we start giving them the promise before they've even delved into their own problem. We don't let them wallow in it enough. They've got to feel it. They've got to get it in their gut. Okay, they need to know it's not a comfortable place for them to be. It's risky. It's pushing the envelope. Yeah, they're on a tightrope. It's dangerous. Where the place that they are, it's not good. The sharks are circling. That's what we want them to feel. There's no net. They're on a tightrope. There's no net, and you need to be that net. You need to help them. So what we want to do is we want to get them to rate their responses. We want to have that gut feel within themselves and rate their responses. So on like a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 is I totally suck at this, and you hear me say that all the time. I used to suck at this. So if it's on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is I totally suck. 10 is I'm incredibly advanced. I'm ahead of the pack. I'm so far ahead. I'm top of the tree. No room for improvement whatsoever. And that's why I've got a few pet hates. But one of my pet hates is like MKR, My Kitchen Rules, and Dancing with the Stars. To me, in my mind, 10 out of 10 is perfection. You can't get any better than that. 10 out of 10 is world class for me. There's no room for improvement. It's exceptional to say the least. And I just don't understand how someone on MKR or someone on Dancing with the Stars, a novice, can actually be perfection. I just don't get it. So, yeah, so seriously, they shouldn't get perfection, and it's not perfection. So that's where we're talking about the extremes. So when we're rating that process, we want to take them from promises down here at 1, and where we're heading is up towards the 9 and 10. We need to pull that further and further apart. Okay? So we want to get them to rate themselves, even if it's in their own mind. Even if they don't do it out loud, or that you don't take them through the process I'm going to show you in a minute. Now, we just need them to rate themselves however we can. We give them extremes, and then we get them to frame themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 5 or whatever it happens to be, and we find out at the end of that where they fall on that scale. Okay? We paint a picture of absolute failure. We paint a picture of perfection so that they can't be either one of those, because generally someone you talk to, they're not going to be absolute failures generally, but on the other scale, they're not going to be perfect either, otherwise they wouldn't be there. So we paint them a picture of those two ends so that they fall somewhere in between. So that means there's generally always somewhere for you to take them, somewhere for them to go, somewhere for them to aspire to with your help. They get buy into that mentally, where they sit, and they admit to it because they are rating themselves. So it comes back to slide 1, I think it was, or one of the frustrations, they actually admit to it. Just like in the Cosmo Quiz, in that Cosmo Quiz. Remember the Cosmo Quiz, what the Cosmo Quiz used to be? That's what they used to do. They used to rate themselves, and they used to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 50 if they were okay down there. You know what I mean by down there. Answer these questions about down there and to see if you're good down there. That's what the Cosmo Quiz used to be. They used to ask you some questions, get you to rate yourself, and you used to say, oh, okay, I'm okay down there. I love that analogy. Here I am cracking myself up. It's cool. All right. Okay. So that's number 3. So what we've got. So we've unlocked the obvious. Now, you know, they know it internally. They know that they can't ignore it anymore. They see that there's a path, there's a trail, there's a bridge, and they can see it on some sort of scale. We've got them to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10. But at the moment, you're still the one pulling along, right? You're still pulling them along. So we need to flip it around and we need to relinquish control. What we need to do, we need to give them back control. I want you to give them back control. Okay. Remembering the agenda, everyone uses, hopefully everyone's using the agenda now, a meeting agenda. It's in the Blackwing Vault. And, remember the agenda, okay, so Fred and Mary, there's two ways we can do this today. First way is we could go round and round in circles, have a really good chat. It'd be really fun. It'd be fantastic. We'll get to know each other well. However, we probably won't get much done. So what I normally like to do is I like to run to an agenda so that we've got a process to follow. Is that okay with you? So what I'd like to do first, we'll do this, we'll do that, blah, 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 blah. So we get to the end of the agenda, and then what we say, we give them back control. At the end of running through the agenda, it's critical that you say something like, but this is your meeting and you can take it wherever you like. So we run through the agenda, and then at the end of the agenda we say, but it's okay, this is your 90 minutes, this is your hour, you can take this meeting wherever you like. So they get the perception that they can be in control. But the reality is, if I just get you to type into the question box, the person who sets the, who's, I think I just answered it. Who's in control? If there's someone who's setting an agenda, who's actually got control of the meeting? Can you just type it in for me just quickly? Type it in. I just want to make sure everyone's on what I'm talking about and is understanding. And gets how critical the agenda process is. Okay. Yep. Me. We are. The person who sets it. The agenda setter. Themselves. Yeah. The person who sets the agenda is the person in control. You. Great, Paul. Thanks, Adam. Yep. Susan. Good, Paul. Yeah, Terry, yeah, we are. So the person who sets the agenda is in control. All right, so, but even though we've just set the agenda, we're going to give them perceived control. But this is your time today. You can take this out wherever you want. But you know what? They don't, because they're all looking for someone to follow. So you get to have control. So, so this, so that's point number one. This is the first time we want to give them perceived control. But the second point is kind of at the start of the transition, where we go from so if you think about the 9-box framework, we lead the client, we stretch the gap for the bulk of the meeting, for sort of 35, 40 minutes in the meeting, we stretch the gap between the problem and the promise. We stretch that gap wide. It's just what we're talking about today. So that's the stretch the gap part. And so, but in the transition between the stretch the gap and the get hired, that's where we want to give them back the perception of control. So we gave them an option right up front, and they gave it straight back to you because, hey, you've run the agenda. Yeah, just do that. That sounds good. That sounds like a plan for us today. But so we walk our way through, getting to the end of the stretch of the gap where we've worked out their problems and we're starting to diagnose pills, give them the promise. And then when we want to transition from the stretch the gap to the get hired piece, this is another opportunity that we want to give them the perception of control. We want to give them back control. So we say something like, in the transition script, it's on the website. We all know where it is in the vault. Okay, so far I've been the one. You've been the one in control today. You've set the agenda. They've agreed to it. You've asked the relationship questions. You've walked them through the meeting. You've had control. You've been in the driver's seat so far, and we need to give them some sort of control back, like I said. So you're going to summarise everything you've heard just now. You're going to do a big super summary, and then you're going to feed it back to them. You said this, and you want A, B, C, and X, Y, Z, and 1, 2, 3, and you haven't got this, and you're stuck with that, and blah, blah, blah. Does that sound about right? Am I on track here? Have I missed anything? Okay, great. I'm really, and then what we want to do, we want to give them we want to start the promise, the problem, the 3 Ps part. The problem, the process, the problem, the promise, and then the process. And then we're going to check in. Does that make sense? Have I got it covered? And they're going to say, yeah. And you're going to say, okay, great. Well, I'm really, really clear on what we need to do. I've got a very, very good handle on problems you've got, what I need to do to fix it, in other words, the promise, and I know exactly the process from start to finish. I know what to do first, second, third, and fourth. In fact, I could probably jot that down on a piece of paper right now. Okay, so we're going to give them perceived control and make sure they're very, very comfortable that you understand the problem, you know what they've got to do to fix it, and you've got a process to get in there fast, and you can hold their hand to do it. But hey, this is what you say. So, but hey, pardon me, I've been doing most of the talking today. I've asked you most of the questions. Why don't we switch roles? I've had the talking stick. I've had the microphone for 40 minutes or so now. I've been the one asking questions. Why don't you have it for a while? Is everything making sense so far? Have you got any questions? Where do you think we should go from here? Where do you think we should go from here? So we've got them clear that we know. We've got them clear that we know their current. We've got them clear that we know where they're going, and they get that we've got a process to get them where they want to be, and they don't have that. But we're going to give them back control. I've been talking. How about you talking? Is everything okay? Any questions? Have I missed anything? Is there anything I've left out? Where do you think we should go from here? And it's going to be like James Bond. If you can imagine James Bond has got a nuclear detonator in his hand, and it's going to explode in 28 seconds, and it's just about to blow, and he hands it to some civilian who's walking past the street, and he gives him control of this nuclear detonator. He gives it to a novice to take control. And the novice says, holy crap, I don't want control. I'll give it back to you. Here, you take it, James Bond. I'll give you back control. So we've given them the opportunity. They're desperate to know how we're going to fix this, and they want to know about us. This is where we start to get high part. So I don't want the detonator. Here, you have it back. No, I'm comfortable. I don't know, Doc. Where do you think we should go from here? That's what they're going to say. Where do you think we should go from here? Well, I don't know. You're the expert. You tell me, where do you think we should go from here? And what have they just done? Just type in for me. So when they say, I don't know, Doc, where do you think we should go from here? What have they just done? Just type in for me. What have they just done? They've given you what? Just type in for me. Right. They've given you back control. So they felt like they had control. When they got it, they didn't want it. So guess what? They've given you permission to proceed, Matt. Absolutely. They've handed back control, Susan. Fantastic. Paul, they've given authority for us to proceed further. Paul, Holly, yes, giving you back control. Everyone, Lee, we're exactly right. Spot on, guys. So by giving them control, they give it straight back to you, and now we can go ahead and get ourselves hired. Is this making sense, guys? Just please raise your hand, let me know. I want to know that this is landing home, because this process is the critical part of you actually getting paid big dollars for your work. We've understood the problem, we've shown them the promise, and now know that you've got the steps, you've built the bridge for them to get place, and we gave them control to try and do it themselves, and they gave it straight back to us. Now we can launch comfortably and confidently and with gusto into the get hired piece. Okay? It's like, here, I don't know where to go. Here, you have it. I don't know where to go from here. You tell me what to do. And then, hey, presto, you've got that control back. All right? And that's what we want. We want control. So what I'm going to do now, what I'd love to do, I'm going to walk you through, I'm going to grab my iPad again, so if that's cool with you. I'm going to walk you through something on my iPad. So grab a clean sheet of paper, guys. And I want to basically walk you through how this sort of works in practice. I want to make sure that this is landing with you and it's really, really clear and you get it. So I'm just going to grab a new sheet of paper. So what I want to show you right now, I'm going to talk you through what I call the Cosmo Quiz. Okay, the Cosmo. You can jot this down as well, because I want this to really, really land home with you today. So I want to show you a really, really simple tactic that I learned. I kind of stumbled upon this, guys. I don't know exactly how I came about it, to be honest. I was trying to think about where or who taught me. But, I've had a lot of success with this in the really early days, and I've actually morphed it into something different. So it's been really, really helpful, and but I've made it more sexier now. And you might have seen it, and I'm going to walk you through it in just a second too. So it's like, like I said before, what I found this is really, really helpful in the transition piece. It's from talking about them and their issues and their challenges and their problems and the promises that they need made and all the rest of it. It's really good for the transition to get them to start talking about you, how you can help, what you can do, and how your business runs, and basically get you hired. And like I said, it's called the Cosmo Quiz. And I don't know if you've seen Cosmopolitan magazine. Hopefully some of you, most of the ladies have on the call, and quite a few, most of the men should know what it is. And in that magazine, they ask you these questions, right? So they ask you a series of questions about particular topics. And that's these topics, and what they do, they get you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or whatever it is. And what happens is you tally up the score between 1 and 10 or whatever it is. And it's like, so something like, I don't know the exact ones, but it's like if you're between 0 and 20, you're dumb. And you're dumb. And if it's between 20 and sort of 50, you're dumb and ugly. You know, whatever it happens to be. And if you're between sort of 50 to 70, you're dumb, ugly, and broke. Whatever it happens to be. And if you're sort of 70 plus, whatever it is, you're awesome. So they ask you these questions. They get you to rate themselves, get you to rate yourself, and the higher the score, the better you are, or the higher the score, the worse you are, or whatever it happens to be. So that's the sort of thing that we're talking about. There's these tests that they give you that they get you to rate yourself, so that you can get into your own pain and you can analyse where you sit on these scales. So yeah, if you have a look at, think about it, there's a danger to this. And if you look at like emotions, so when you're in a client engagement meeting, if you look at emotions on a sort of a scale, so at the top there, if you look at like high emotion at the top, you might want to jot this down. So high positive emotion, high positive emotion on the top, and then it's sort of low positive emotion. It's negative positive emotion down the bottom. All right, and here's a sort of a scale. And the danger is that you're sort of walking through your client and everything's going well. Yeah, they're getting higher and higher and higher, and getting more positive. They've come in a little bit underconfident, and you're taking them on a journey, and it's really, really comfortable for them. And you've had the meeting, and you're with your client, and if you're doing it the old-fashioned way, you're teaching a lot of stuff, and you're answering questions along the way, and they're feeling better and better and better about themselves, because you know what, we answer lots of questions on the way through, don't we, guys? To be honest, we're answering questions for our clients, and the danger is that they start off low down the bottom here, and they get to this point up the top where you're doing such a great job that they either lose the urgency, or they try and go off and do it themselves, or they just don't need it anymore because they're feeling so good. You made them feel so good that they don't feel the pain anymore, and so they don't think it's so urgent. So what we need to do, they say, I'm okay now. I feel good. I've had my itch scratched. Thanks for your help today. It's been really, really good. I've got some really great ideas, but I'm good. I don't really need anything anymore. That's the worry. Okay. So what we need to do, we need to figure out a way that we can bring them back down this emotional level. We need to get them back down here. We need to figure out a way to get them back into the pain, back into their place of discomfort, and get them down there. So we need to drag them back down. So because the thing is, we don't want to go from stretch the gap to get hired when they're feeling full. Okay, so if they're feeling really good, it's like the full belly. We don't want to start our getting hired piece if they're feeling like they've got a full belly. Right? Does that make sense? They're feeling satisfied, if that makes sense. So I reckon what we need to do is, I reckon a really good way to do that, to give them value and make them feel good, but be able to see a light at the end of the tunnel. But we need to get them back down emotionally and have them jump back down into that sort of, I need this area. We need to get them way back down here. So we need to take them from here. We need to get them to a point where we're back down here, and down here, this is where they need you again. We need to get them down there. We need to figure out a way to do that. Jump straight back in there. I've got to do something about this, and I reckon the Cosmo Quiz is the perfect way to do it. So you do this. So you do this just at the end of the relationship mountain bit, okay? Or you're finding out about their background and their history and what drives them and what their challenges are, what the consequences of not overcoming those challenges are, and what value it could be. You think about the relationship mountain, those 5 things. Background and history, what's driving them, their motivation, what their current challenges are, roadblocks, sticky points, speed bumps, issues that they're facing right now, what the consequences are of not doing anything about those things, and what would be the value if you could help them. How would it be? What if I could? How would you feel if I was able to? How would that be in your world? And you get them to understand that, and that's when you start to run the Cosmo Quiz. So what I used to do, I used to create a little quiz, and it was brutally honest. I tried to be as brutally honest as I possibly could. And if they're doing great, that was fine. They get to say, yes, I'm doing well. If they're feeling well, they get to say they're doing well, because we do want to stroke their ego as well. But, the thing was, I'd ask the questions in such a way that if they were great, it was good. But if they weren't, I really got them to be brutally honest with themselves. They need it. It's not working for them. I need to be totally honest that it's not working the way I want it to be. I'm not comfortable with it. I need to do something about it as well. In fact, so again, so what I might do is I might even show you a bit of what I did for Blackwing. So when I launched Blackwing Profit, I did this white paper called "How to Be Seen as the Expert in Your Field." Some of you guys might have got the white paper initially right back maybe nearly 2 years ago now, and I had a webinar series on it. And I got financial planners on board. We sent out the lead magnet, which was the expert's white paper. We got people to come onto a webinar, and then people engaged in what we called a 90-day blitz. And there was 10 things inside that expert's webinar: how to be seen as the expert in your field, and I think it was how to build raving fans and build raving fans along the way. We got people engaged, and so what I did, I actually asked 10 questions in there, and I'm going to run through those with you now. So I might get you to grab a clean sheet of paper, and let's just do the exercise, guys. So I want you to rate yourselves on a scale of 1 to 10. So I'm going to use you as an example and show you how it's done when you're doing it with your clients. But let's use a live example, and we'll talk about your financial planning business at the same time. All right, so this is how we launched Blackwing Profit on the webinar. So I did opening and summary, frustrations and fears, 5 hot principles, and then I started the transition from talking about them and to then I was just about to pitch the 90-day transformation blitz. And I got people to do a Cosmo Quiz. And I'm going to do that Cosmo Quiz with you, and so I want you to answer honestly in your own financial planning business. So here we go. So I'd say something like this. So I'm going to ask you 10 questions now, and I'm going to ask them, and if you can honestly answer really, really well with a really positive yes, like 100% commitment yes, I want you to give yourself a big tip, pat on the back of yourself, and I want you to draw a big tick or a smile face, feel really, really good about your progress and what you're doing so far. Okay, you following that, guys? So I've framed it up. If you're feeling really good, say yes, it's good, high five yourself, be really, really good. But if you can't honestly say yes to any of these questions, I want you to be brutally honest. I want you to put a big red cross next to it or draw a sad smiley face. And I want you to be brutally honest with yourself to know that you've got some more work to do in your financial planning business, okay? So option A is, yes, I'm happy, put a smiley face. Option B is, no, there's more work to do. I need to do more, and I need to look into this further, okay? So I want you to notice, guys, so did you notice I was really upbeat in the yes, positive, really good stakes, and then notice my emotions dropped, okay? It was down and negative for the sad smiley face cross, okay? I get quite serious, my tone changed, I slowed my voice down, so I wanted there to be 2 extremes. So that's what I was talking about before, we wanted to be 2 extremes. Okay, so let me answer these questions, and the first question that I want to ask you, and so guys, in the posse today, I want to ask you these questions. So now the first question I'm going to ask you, how are you feeling about the use of the Blackwing Profit client engagement maps? The processes that we use, the step-by-step frameworks for each and every part of the process, the first contact to first handshake, the first handshake to first engagement, the engagement to plan presentation, the plan presentation to plan implementation, and then the follow-up process. How confident on a scale of 1 to 10 do you feel you are? So are you sort of feeling really, really good about it? You're comfortable, you've got every single, it's just a system in your business now, it runs smoothly, you've got all of those things in place, step by step into your business, or is it still on your to-do list? Do you still have it in your folder or stashed away somewhere? Haven't got to it, been meaning to, got a couple of bits and pieces of the process in place, but haven't quite got it there. So where are you? Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. I want you to put a big smiley face if you're doing well, if you've got the process in place, and if you haven't, I want you to rate yourself with a sad face. So number 1. Number 2, what about the use of checklists? So your magic wand list, your corporate profile is kind of a checklist. Your success wheel, the things that we use as checklists, your fact find information, and those little inserts that I've given you for your fact finds to make it easy for them to articulate their problems to you. Are you using them? Are you happy and comfortable with the way you're using them, or have you been wanting to do them and haven't got them in place? Or are you using them but you're not using them very well? Or do you use it sporadically or not very often? So I just want you to rate yourself on how well you're using the Blackwing checklist, number 2. Number 3, how well are you climbing Relationship Mountain? So you know where it is. There's 5 base camps to the peak of Relationship Mountain. We need to get to every single base camp, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So the background questions, the motivation questions, the problem questions, the consequence questions, and the value questions. Are you using that Relationship Mountain process really well? If you are, give yourself a tick, a big pat on the back, say high five to yourself, puff out your chest, feel really, really good. If you're not, if you'd like to be doing it better, well, put a sad smiley face and sort of rate yourself between 1 and 10. What about your Earn the Right story? Some people are working on it. Some people have got it. Are you using it consistently? Do you feel really proud when you use it? Is it what you want it to be? How are you feeling? Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. really good or not so good. So you see what I'm going here? So just a little time out, guys. See what I'm doing? I'm asking a series of questions that are frustrations for financial planners right now. And so I'm saying, are you doing really well or are you doing really poorly? And I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, most people on this call, there'll be a few that are using these tools really, really well up at 8, 9, or 10, which is kind of at experts level. But I have to say, I know mostly what's going on the call. Well, I know everyone what's going on the call, and I know that a lot of people just aren't using them as much as they should, or as well as they could, or they haven't quite figured it out. So I know that a lot of these scores won't be very high. So see, I'm taking you back down from a positive emotive state to a negative emotive state. What about your language? Are you using the Blackwing Profit language? Are we still talking like financial planners? Are we thinking like a financial planner and therefore talking like the one? Or are we talking like our prospect in language that they understand about things that they want to know about and things that they need help and they're important to them? How are you doing? So rate yourself on that. And so on and so on. I'll just skip through these. So have you built your strategic alliance partnerships? How's your USP? So your USP is basically the corporate profile. That's our unique selling proposition. Have you got yourself published yet? Have you been into the vault, grabbed the media kit and got yourself in front of publishers and editors in industry magazines or local press or anything like that? Have you got yourself published? Rate yourself. So you see what I'm doing here? Are you still giving away the cookie? Are you still giving away the cookie? I know a lot of you guys, unfortunately, still literally quite true, are giving away the cookie still. Better at it, a lot better, but not quite where we want to be. So rate yourself on that. And what about the expert success traits? So in the 10 success traits that you need to tick off for you to be seen as an expert and authority in your marketplace. So how well are you doing at those? So, okay, so what I want you to do just right now, just quickly, I would love you to just please tally up your score, and I'd love you to type in. I won't read out any names. Someone's an 11. I'd love to know what that was. Adam, I have to say it was you. Adam, what were you an 11 at? I'd love to know. But for the rest of you, I'd love you to tally up your score. And from an expert financial planning point of view on 10 traits that we do here at Blackwing Profit, which I believe are the 10 traits that you need to be seen as the authority in your marketplace, how well are you doing out of 100? I want you to tally them up and I want you to type them into the first point. The first point which was, I can't quite remember now. Right? How are you doing? I'd love you to type your score in. Okay, so we've got some just over half. 41, 37. USP again, USP, unique selling proposition, Lee. So your USP is basically the corporate profile. So the stuff inside the corporate profile, that's your value. That's where we get to articulate it and how we get hired. So 12. I've got a 12. We've got 51. So just over half. Okay. So you see how these aren't really, really high scores. So most of the scores that I'm getting, there's a 68 there. That's pretty good. Been with me for a while, so that's awesome. I love to see that, Paul. Thank you so much. So the scores aren't overly high. So what we've done, now there's room for improvement. There's room for movement. There's room to take that person on a journey and get it done. And then at the end of that, I used to say, if it's not a 10, why not? Why isn't it 10? Knowing what you know now, why isn't it 10? And we're trying to get the prospect to understand where they're at, what they need to do, and blah, blah, blah. Great. Adam, thanks. We've got that. Thanks, Mark. Cool. Awesome. So you see what I'm saying? So then, okay, if it's not a 10, why not? Okay, here's how I'll help you with that. Let me walk you through now. If I was doing financial planning, let me walk you through our corporate profile. Just quickly, guys, from what we've done so far, we've talked about the another industry's need for this, the Love Guru session. We've talked about problem and promise and building a process. I've walked you through a kind of a version of a Cosmo Quiz and how I used to do it in when I was in the Blackwing business, and it's literally how I launched the Blackwing business. What are you learning so far? What's the BFOs? What are you learning? What have you taken out of what we've done today so far? And I'm going to show you how we actually. I'm going to roll this into a package for you and show you how to do it day to day. But I'd love to know, what are some BFOs that you've learned from walking through the Cosmo Quiz sort of Australia? Take 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I'm just going to grab a quick drink of water, I'd love to know from you. Just type into the question box. Yeah, process. So you're right. Thanks, Paul. Middle of it is process. So uncover the problems, show them the results, don't deviate from the process. But we need to show them that there's a process. Lead the way, build the bridge, hold their hand. We need to show them that they can't do it by themselves. It's too complex for them, and we're going to take them all the way through, and we'll hold their hand all the way through. Great to get another perspective. The 3 Ps is so important. Totally is, Paul. Absolutely. Paul G and Paul H. Reinforcing bringing an expert to your client's problems. Absolutely. Yeah, we need to show them the way. We need to show them that we know. But firstly, before we do that, we've got to get them to dive into their own nightmare. Just jot that down if you haven't done that before, guys. We want our prospects to dive into their own nightmare. And we get them there, and then we show them the other end. We show them the promise, and then once they understand, and we stretch that gap as wide as we can from their nightmare to Wonderland, is we need to stretch it further and further apart, and then what we're going to do is help them build a bridge and show them the process and the steps that are really simple and easy to get there. Show leadership, give them confidence that we're the expert. Absolutely. Thanks, Lee. Build the bridge, who they need and how we can help. Absolutely. You're the person that they need, and you're the man to help or the woman to help. The importance of limiting their emotional level so that they realise how much. So, really good one, Mark. Thank you for that. Yeah, there was a danger that because we were doing so awesome and they were feeling really good about themselves, they were on a high and therefore they won't need to proceed. So we've got to come up with a way to get them low again. So there's a need and there's a risk and danger for them as well. Adam, I think it's also worth reminding them where the free advice is. Yeah, where has the free advice gotten you so far, Fred? You know, you get what you pay for. I know the problem. I've got the promise. Here it is. I'll dangle it in front of you. I'm going to let you touch, taste, and feel the cookie. But if you want the cookie, you have to pay. But I'm now going to show you the process, and it's going to be really, really simple and easy for you. I'll be there for you. I've got your back all the way, and I'll walk you all the way through the process. Great, guys. Really good. Let's turn this method into madness. Okay, think about this. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the success wheel. So this is how I morphed the Cosmo Quiz. I said, hey, why don't I send this out to clients before they come in? So give them something really simple and easy where they could rate themselves on what I did in my business. Now, I did 8 areas. You might be a self-managed super fund specialist. So what I want you to do, I want you to break down 8 key areas in some sort of chronological, logical order. If you're a self-managed super fund expert, I want you to have 8 things that you do that they need. So 8 steps in the process, 5 steps in the process. It could be 3 steps, whatever you want. I think 8's a good number for this. You might be a risk-only specialist. So what I want you to do, I want you to have a success wheel that's got 8 key areas in some sort of logical, chronological order that you need to fix to get you from the problem you've got to the promise that you're going to make for them. And we want to turn that into your version of the success wheel. If you're superannuation only, or if you transition to retirement, okay. So what are 8 steps? You remember how we did the example with the smelly, fat, short guy? What's the first thing they need to do? And the second thing he needs to do? And then the third thing they need to do? And the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh and the 8th. That becomes your process. And that's where we articulate. And we get them to say, how are you going in that part of the process? The second part of the process, third. So mine was cash flow. This is my chronologically logical order, right? So to me, in my mind, this is when I see a client, these are the things we fix in a kind of an order. Cash flow, lifestyle, peace of mind. Make sure they know they've got a plan. Sort out the debts. Talk about some investment and gearing. Think about their tax planning. Superannuation and retirement planning. Insurance and asset management. Asset protection, sorry. Legal and estate planning, and then review and keeping on track and management and maintenance. Now, there's lots of subheadings behind all of those things, but generally they're the 8 keys, and then each one of those has got their own things inside it. So all I'm trying to show you, I've turned a Cosmo Quiz into a wheel and called it the Financial Success Matrix. Gave it a sexy name, and that's what we send out to clients before they come in. It takes 20 seconds or 30 seconds to do. Each and every one of you guys will have filled in my Blackwing version of this as well. Do you remember? You've all done this, and I asked you business questions exactly. Get a gauge, and you can see down the bottom there, at the end of it, they mark their spot, they join the wheel together, and generally it's a really wonky wheel. So number one, you can't run with a wonky wheel, so you need my help to get you up the top. And secondly, the areas that are lower, I know which areas to focus on first. So if someone's up at an 8, 9, or 10, I know I don't need to focus so much on that. I'll focus on where the 1s, 2s, and 3s are. Yeah? But then what happened is, okay, let's take it to another level. Okay, that's the magic wand list. Sorry, that's the success wheel. But what about the magic wand list? How can we get that to correlate with the magic wand? We can take them on a journey. The bridge just continues to get built. The bricks are paved in front of them all the way through. So the yellow, now the one that I used with clients, it wasn't coloured like this, so I only coloured it so I can show you guys. But the yellow parts, they're the questions I used to ask when I did the Magic Wand list. They're the cash flow questions. Then the blue is the debt questions. Then the orange is the investment and gearing and that sort of, the wealth creation questions. Then the purple was the tax and legal type questions, government type questions, Centrelink and salary packaging and that sort of questions. Then I just had a generic over one. Yeah, I'm not getting any advice from any other person in the world. So I'll try and put as many people in that category, not getting advice from anyone else, so therefore I'll give it to you. The purple up the top on the right-hand side, they were the superannuation questions. So I got to walk them through logically. They'd marked on the success wheel where they felt they were at home in the privacy of their own home, and they'd marked that. They'd brought it in with me, and now the next step, these are all coming in home to roost now. Oh, they're the questions that I answered at home the other day before I came into the meeting. And now I'm getting a bit more specific on each one. I'm drilling in, diving deeper. I'm making them feel, and I'm getting them to mentally rate themselves where they are on each one of these questions. I'm trying to take them back into their pain points because I know that they're going to be crap on all of these things. But I just want you to see the method to the madness here. Insurance questions are green. Estate planning questions and just some generic questions there about employment status changing, life events prompted me to seek advice, those sort of generic questions. Just overall review. Business ownership, key man questions, company superannuation, group super, that sort of thing. And then just, I think I need a new account. And I'd get them to think, at the end of us answering those questions, I'd get them to think, I'd ask them the question, I think I need a new financial advisor, accountant, lawyer, mortgage broker, general insurance broker. Well, guess what? I can help with all of those things. And the client says yes, after being successfully, and then some people say, I don't know, just help me. So there's all of those things, to be honest, Steve. Thanks for bringing them up for me. I don't actually know what I need. Just help me. And we'd get those ticks as well. So you see how they work. Cash flow, debts, gearing and investment wealth creation, tax and government, superannuation, retirement planning, insurance and asset protection, legal estate planning, business, and then some business questions at the end. And that's how it works. So these are the tools in action. So we've got so this is the critical issues questionnaire with the success wheel on the back. So that's the one page that we send out before the meeting. We've got a meeting agenda. We're in that agenda on the third bullet point there. We let them know that at some point during our meeting, we're going to walk through this thing called the Magic Wand List. And there's the Magic Wand List. It's ready to go. Here's all the questions. There's the key questions on the 8 key areas that I did in my financial planning business. And then when we get to solution mode, then we're in the corporate profile. There's a page called What We Do at XYZ Financial Services, and it happens to be solutions and promises to all of the things that they've told us they need along the way. We just happen to, coincidentally, I don't know how it got there, but we just happen to have a solution to all the stuff they need. And we just tick through. Okay, so what do we do at Southern Financial Strategy? Well, John and Anne-Marie, well, basically it's all these things we talked about to do. We do wealth creation, we do superannuation advisory, we do redundancy, we do self-management, we do whatever. All the things that we've just been talking about and all of your pain points, all of your problems, I happen to have the promise. Here it is. Let me just walk you through them. That's how they work. This is what happened over and over again. So what? And I used to use this just in the handover meeting, guys, at the end of it, just as a side issue. The handover meeting, I'd bring out the original success matrix. So they've got their original that they filled in, which is normally right in the middle and the really, really wonky. And then I get them to re-rate themselves at the end of the session when I'm doing my handover meeting, and I want them to re-rate themselves. How are you feeling now? That's where you started. This is where we ended up. How are you feeling now that we've done this and we've done that? We've split your stoop and we've consolidated, reduced the tax, and we tidied up your loans and we got rid of your credit cards and da-da-da. How are you feeling now? And I'd get them to rewrite themselves. Now, it's not perfect. That means there's more to do. But gee, you're feeling a lot better, and that wheel is much more going to be much more roadworthy, much more road efficient. It's going to be much more fuel efficient. You're going to have a much smoother ride, and we've still got more work to do. So it's fantastic. Here's the Magic Wand List. That's how it looked every single time. If you ask these questions, this is what you're going to get. Yes, I'd love to. I need this. I want that. Yeah, you're right. Okay, I should. I haven't thought about that. Yeah, please tick. Blah, 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 blah. Tick, 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 tick. And then at the end of it, here's the solution. Here's all the things you needed. Yeah, we do this. We do that. You're not retiring yet. Okay, but we'll talk about that later. So I'll put a few little ticks just to remind us to come back to it later. Yeah, we need that. We need that. We need that. And just at the bottom there, very, very bottom, I just need an overall investment and financial checkup. Just fix my stuff, Steve, please. And I ask them that question so that they say to me, Steve, just fix all my stuff. And that's how it worked. And just kept going on and on and on every time without fail. It's kind of bulletproof. You get it? Does that make sense? I hope it does. I really, really hope it does. I hope this has been valuable to you today, just to have a different slant, a different perspective on how we can get clients on the journey, take them on a journey, hold their hand, and get them to push you instead of you having to push them. And that's what we want here. Okay? Because when it's done right, the Cosmo Quiz, it's such a good tool for you to use with you to get your prospects from the place where they are now, and even when they're on a high, either before you've met with them, which is where they're oblivious to their problems, and that's why we've got the success wheel, or after that, where we get into a great conversation with you. They feel happy, they're feeling good, they've finally met someone that they trust. We want to reconnect with their pain. So your job is to get them back into the awareness zone, awareness of their problem, get them back down into that nightmare, and we use the Cosmo Quiz to help do that. Okay, it's classy, it's smooth, it's logical. They're doing it, then you're not doing it, you're not pushing anything, they're pulling you. It's just a series of questions, and it'll work perfectly for you if you do it right. All right, quick game plan for you guys, because I know we've got the summit, and I can't hang out with you guys on Tuesday. I'm really looking forward to it. We've got a great session planned. You're going to love it. Yeah, really hanging out. But I'm just going to give you a couple of little things to think about. These aren't really hard, so I want you to think this through. So I want you to grab your worksheet. No worksheet, so just write these down, guys, if you can. Here's the game plan for this week. All right. So number one, the first thing I want you to do, I want you to make a list of all the things that you want to make your clients aware of. So all of the I want you to that's basically all of the problems that they could possibly have. So for your ideal client, if you could tell them all their problems, I want you to write a big list, and then opposite to that list, I want you to write a big list of promises. If that's the problem, how do I fix that? If that's the next problem, how do I fix that one? Then the next one and the next one. So you're on the left-hand side of the page, I want a list of their problems, and on the right-hand side, I want a list of their promises that you can make to them. The absolute must that they need to do. The things that you do in your business, what you can do to help them, so that we at least get them to acknowledge them. Even if they're good, even if they're bad, it doesn't matter, but we need the list. Okay, number one. Number two, I want you to think about that dating coach example and build that 3 Ps bridge. If you work out the problem and we figure out the promises, we need to figure out what's your step-by-step process for getting your prospects from the problem to the promise. Okay? So you figure out what's going to flow for you, what's going to flow effectively in your business, how are you going to best articulate that to them. Use the corporate profile, guys, no problem at all. Tweak it up, make it yours, or just leave it as it is and just use it anyway, because that's what most people seem to be doing, because it works, okay? Because that's the bridge. The corporate profile, guys, just so you know, the corporate profile is the bridge from getting you where and out of where you want to be. That's the bridge. But I want you to have one, whether it's mine or yours. I want you to have one. Okay, so everything flows perfectly, and you give them a really good value proposition and advice proposition, and we've got a process. They've got to Tractify. Do that, and your clients will be more engaged. They'll buy into their needs. They'll buy into their wants, and best of all, you and them are all going to be okay down there. All right, guys. I think I want to know. So right on time. I'm hoping that you can just spend 2 more minutes. I'd love to know from you. I'd love to know, what did you get out of today's session? What did you, I want to know what was most helpful for you, what was most valuable for you. What did you learn? What did you notice? What would you like to share with the group? I'd love you to just take a second. Steve, didn't you say you don't use the color? Yeah, I just said, yeah, I don't. With the clients, I didn't use the color version of the Magic Wand list, Paul. No, I used the color version of the success wheel, but with the client, I just used that. I wasn't color. I didn't use the color. I think the color is just. I developed the Magic Wand list just so I could train you guys to show you how it all fits in. With the client, I physically don't use the color version. I use the just normal version. I had my logos for that, but I just didn't use the purple and the green and the orange and that sort of thing. But I'd love to know. So, guys, for you, what was most valuable out of today? I hope you did. Give back control. Thanks, Lee. Give back control. Stretch the gap. Probably not using that as good as it can be used. Okay, mate, I hope you know a little bit more about it now, and you've learned some things that you could add to that. Stick it, guys. Stick it, because every time you do this well and every single step in that bridge that you build, your dollar signs go up. And they want to pay you more, and they're going to say, that's great, I want that, I need that. Here, do my stuff. Aaron, the importance of making clients feel their pain and enable them to admit that they need our help. Exactly. If we can get them to do it, it's done. the process works and I need to build in the parts I'm currently not using. Great. Great to go through it again. Thanks, Paul. Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Confirmed a lot that I'm doing, which is awesome, Matt. Thank you. You've been one of my early adopters, so I'm so glad to hear that, and I know it's working for you, so I know that anyway. Filled in some gaps, but so where are things that you can prove during the process. It's all about fine editing, find editors for articles, and another thing as well. Okay, that's something different. But tweak, hone, and refine. So some of you guys have been using it for a while, and now we're getting to experts level. This is why I'm going to keep coming back and revise and revisit and refine and just show you again and again and again, so you can just pick up some nuances. I built these tools because this is how I use them, but I want them to use them. I want you to use them the way you feel comfortable, say the things that you want to say, but I want to show you how I built them, created them to be used, and then you just put your tweak on them. Or do it the same way. Thanks, Paul Garner. Refresher, always learn something new. Very good. Or verify current action, which is great. Being able to articulate the rules of engagement, like that, Adam. Yeah, absolutely. It is. This is how it's done around here. And the way you do that, that's with the agenda. The agenda is the use for that. Need to be more specific about my promises versus the pain. Thanks, Susan. Glad you got that. Too many sad faces. Okay, we're going to get some happy faces. Why did your sad face give me a happy face? That gives me lots of opportunity, mate. Lots of happy faces coming your way. Great refresher and can see the gaps in what I'm doing. All right, guys. All right, dudes. Really, really cool. That was fun. I enjoyed going back through that, and it's really weird that when you're not doing it for a while, here's the thing for you, you'll notice this. If you don't do it consistently, you actually start to forget a little bit, to be honest. I'm not being silly, but, you know, because I'm not doing it day to day every single day anymore, it was actually a good refresher for me to go back through some of those things as well. So you need to be on it all the time so that it can be, so that it's front of mind and you do it without even thinking. So it was actually really fun for me as well today. Hey, guys, next Tuesday is going to be amazing, but next time we get together in a few weeks' time, we're going to be in April, and April's a delivery month, and a big part of that delivery is the way we use your client service, or probably more so the way your client's perception of the quality of your service. So we're going to take a look over our shoulder, we're going to go back, we're going to step back, and we're going to create some ways to, what I call, to truly solidify your service. And the way I think about this is the way I think of it like ice, like water, and like steam. Okay, at first, people, when they first meet you, people can grab your service. They can grab out and hold it. It's like ice. It's solid. They can feel it. They can touch it. They can taste it even. And they can feel it's solid. They can grab hold of it. But then what happens after a little while, it starts to melt, doesn't it? And it melts into water. And they can't quite grab that service from you anymore. They can't quite feel it. It actually slips through their fingers. And pretty soon, if you're not careful and if you're not doing this well, that water actually turns into steam. And it evaporates away. And people just wonder where it's gone. They wonder what they're paying for. And in the days of the FDSs now, we can't have that in our business. So we need to maintain, it's ice, water, and steam. And we need to get, if you've got some steam, we need to get it back to water. And that water, we need to get back to ice. So we're going to look at how you can get your clients to have something to reach out to and sort of grab hold of. So it's something solid, a handle, something they could value, hang on to for a long period of time. So next time I'm going to show you how to do that, how to give them what they want, the way they want it, and how to package it up so they can see it, they can see the need for it, and they want to buy it. Okay, and that's what you've got to look forward to next week, next time. In our coaching club training. I hope you can join us. Really, really had fun today. Looking forward to seeing everyone next Tuesday, guys. I'm going to have a ball. Also, guys, be ready and I've booked a really yummy place for us for dinner. I'll give you all the. If you're a meat lover, you're going to love it. If you're a beautiful food lover, you're going to love it. If you're a vegetarian, or you're going to love it. If you're a gluten-free boffin like me, you're going to love it as well. So we picked a really yummy place right in the centre in Darling Harbour there for us to get together, have a couple of quiet shandies, bit of refreshment, and have a nice meal together. So, guys, jump on the Facebook. Keep up the interaction, guys. I'm loving it. And I want more, guys, especially when a new member comes too, guys. I'm a little bit, yeah, I'd love to put my coach's hat on right now. If I came to somewhere, I'd love to feel welcomed by other people in that group. And I'm hoping that you guys would as well, and you'd reciprocate that. So, you know, please keep up the interaction and high-fiving people, and especially when we've got new members to the group as well. All right, dudes. Thanks for everything today. Really loved your interaction. Take care. See you peeps in Sydney. Take care, everyone. Bye for now. Have a great day. Yeah, thanks, guys. No worries. Cool, guys. Thanks. Thanks, Terry. Appreciate that. No worries at all. Yeah, had fun too. Yeah, Matt. So we're going to, don't forget, Matt. We'll hook up and talk about that question you had yesterday on the email. We'll make sure you grab me and set some time about that as well. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Susan. No worries at all. Anything back from bloke? Dude, no, I haven't. Lee, got your question there. Haven't heard a thing, and actually gone a bit quiet for some reason in the posse, but hasn't been on board for, hasn't been in the Facebook group for a while. Mate, what I'll do today, I'm seeing him in Sydney for sure, but I'll reach out to him on Skype and see if I can get him to go and jump in there. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. Talk soon. Bye now.